He contracted COVID-19. He's now recovered. His name is Alex Clancy. He joins us today on the Brewmance podcast. The whole idea, grab a beer, have interesting conversations. So we want to know, what was it like from Alex Clancy? We'll do that in a second. Mike Russell over there, Rob Hunter over here. We are the Brewmance. Mike, what's our beer this week?
We have the Elysian Contact Haze, which was given to me for Father's Day because they thought it was something funny about the whole COVID thing, and I'm still trying to draw a line between Contact Haze, Hazy IPA, and COVID-19. But welcome to being part of my family. That's right. Yes. So we're going to dig into this, and I'm going to start this off. Clancy, I want to know right away. I want to know the worst moment of your, like the deepest, darkest, worst part of having the sickness, like symptoms, puking, bleeding out, something cool like that.
Okay, there was one. See, the mental component is one that people overlook completely. Like the anxiety that entered my body. So Saturday night at my other job, perfectly fine. Sunday night, having 2 glasses of wine with dinner at 5 o'clock, so I got to go to bed early. 8 o'clock, started to feel like crap, but I went to bed. Woke up at 1 a.m. to use the restroom, and I just took my temperature just to see. And it was 101.5. And I was like, oh no. I'm going to die. I'm going to the hospital. Like, it's like when you're half asleep, you don't really think rationally. Like, I need to call my boss. I have to be at work at 4:30 in the morning. Oh no. So I wait a half an hour. And it goes between 99 and 101.5. So every time it goes to 99, I'm like, oh, I'm good. It's the middle of the night. I probably just have. But when I texted my boss at 3 in the morning, that's when the anxiety. That was the worst moment total because I thought everything was over. I was like, I'm going to be on a ventilator because I had no idea, And then the actual physical aspect of it was day 4 or day 5. I woke up in the morning like I had a cactus in the back of my throat. Like I never had, when I swallowed, it felt like shards of glass were in the back of my throat. Like I'm not a baby like I can get over sickness and stuff, the flu. I had never experienced anything like that before. Nothing.
On Twitter, I think just the other day, Alex, just that. So this is not a flu. Now, I think we've kind of compared it to the flu because it's a virus and there's really nothing to compare it to. So elaborate on that. Obviously the cactus in the back of the throat, that doesn't sound like a flu-like symptom, but the fever, okay, great. So what else made you go, this is not the flu, it's worse than the flu and it sucks?
The fever was brutal. Like it's like the silent killer where you don't always feel hot, but you know that when you're not sleeping, the flu is just ravaging your body. And I know that acts as a enabler to make you feel better. Like I get that a fever is helping your body, like the whole thing fight off virus, but my sleep schedule was so out of whack. It was like, it was like time didn't matter. It's like I would sleep from 6 p.m. to midnight. I'd be up from 12 to 10 a.m. It was all about the fever. So that part was different. So what I tell people is it was like the flu, but the rules were so much different. It felt like 4 different sicknesses in a week, where it was a headache and a fever the first 3 days, and the fever would linger throughout, and then the sore throat I couldn't sleep. Like, it was the worst. I couldn't eat. I'd probably dropped 10 or 12 pounds, which I needed at the time, which helped. That was the only bonus. But I could barely eat, like, protein bars. I couldn't get anything down because it was so painful to even swallow. And then the craziest part, which if people don't know this, I didn't know the full extent of this, that day 7 and day 8, when you start to feel a little bit better, is when everything could just jettison you into the hospital. Like day 7, day 8, day 9 are the pivot points where I was lucky enough to have a nurse who I grew up with, who has been a nurse for 15 years. I trust her. We FaceTimed 3 times a day. She's like, how are you? What are your feelings? She was on it. And nice. I FaceTime her this day 7 or day 8. I'm like, feeling better. Like, we got it. She goes, no, this is when you could end up in the hospital. So I want you to FaceTime me an extra couple times today to make sure everything's fine.
So you're feeling good. You're feeling good. You're feeling right. And the medical professionals like that. If you step out of line, this can launch you to no land. And basically, calm before this storm.
Yes, calm before the storm is right. There's nothing that you can do or not do to prevent it. That's when the breathing just goes downhill out of nowhere. day 7, day 8, which freaked me the hell out. I mean, it's
Yeah,
like
back to the
I've done
anxiety.
this. After all I've been through, I ran, 7 marathons in a row, and you're telling me that it could be worse afterwards. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And then anxiety those 2 days to bookend the first day was like nothing I've ever felt anxiety-wise. Because you don't know. Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Right. So at this point, day 7, day 8, have you had your positive test results yet?
Funny you say that. I got tested on Thursday. So let's say June 1st was when I started feeling like crap, which is true. A Sunday, June 1st. Okay. I went and got tested. June 4th, I went to urgent care around the corner from where I live. At that point, it shows how fast things move, especially in Arizona. So I called, you get your initials put in online, and I was able to track how many people were ahead of me so I could go home and just look, oh, you're 8th in line. There were 25 people in front of me. I'm like, that's about right. It'll take probably 3 hours, and I'll be able to go back. 7 hours later, I still hadn't been called, and they were just getting overrun. Like nowadays, now in Arizona, there's not even a list. There's no online check-in. It's survival of the fittest. You go there like in the 60s or whatever when there's no internet, no nothing. I got tested on Thursday, the 4th. I went, and then I walked in. They did for strep because my throat was – I was hoping it was strep and the flu, and then they did the nasal thing. I was in there for 30 seconds, and then it took 8 days to get my test back. 7 or 8. Like, I'm not milking this. It was either 7 or 8 days. I didn't get it till the next Thursday. You
were on your way to feeling better and ready to go by the time you knew positively that you had COVID.
Yep. I was 3 days pretty much better. I still had some lingering lethargy and little body aches, but temperature was gone 7 days in. Like, I was pretty much better by the time I got my test back.
When did you feel like, okay, I feel like I'm going to be better? I mean, you were FaceTiming with your friend who's a nurse, so you're 7 or 8. When did you finally feel confidence that, okay, I think I've turned the corner on this, where I know I'm going to recover?
When I got through the window of, oh no, I could go to the hospital in the next 48 hours. I mean, that was it. It was really, that was the only cut and dry, this is when it's going to happen if it's going to happen, which was the me waking up on the 10th day or whatever was like, whew, cool. And I have this thing actually right here. I don't even know. This is, when you go to the doctor and they check your temperature, they check your blood pressure for a checkup, and they put that little thing on your finger, and you don't know what it is. It tests beats per minute. It tests the oxygen in your blood. $30 online. I forget what the name of it is right now. Unfortunately, I'll let you know when I'll text you after. If that drops below a certain number, you know that you don't have enough oxygen in your blood, which means there's going to be some breathing issues coming up. So I had that on my finger, 25 times a day just to see. It takes a minute to register, and that. So that and day 10, I was good after that. I was like, I'm going to be fine.
And now you go get your test again.
Mm-hmm.
You need your negative test to go back to work.
Yeah, to go back to the restaurant.
Your test again. What were the results?
They weren't negative. It was. I've never swore at a healthcare professional. I swore like it was like a projectile. Get the F out of here. Like, there's no way. So at that point, that was over 2 weeks since my last symptom. And again, not juicing the numbers here. It was 15 or 16 days since my last symptom. I got tested on Thursday and Friday because I need 2 tests to go back to the other gig, and they both came back positive. And I said, "Get the F!" Like, I screamed it in my car. I'm like, "There's no, how is that possible?" And the anxiety jumped in again. I'm like, "Now what?" Like, I gotta work, but I'm so painfully scared of spreading it to anybody else. Like, it was that part. Like, I have no problem being at home if I can save other people, and I wear a mask when I'm in public and the whole thing. So it's that was a trip. And I'm actually going to get tested again today, hoping that a week has passed and I'll be able to go back to some normalcy.
Any idea how it started, where you may have received it, where you maybe came into contact with the person that was the contagion that gave it to you?
I mean, the easy thing to say would be my other job, my restaurant job, but I don't know. Like, it's so, I mean, restaurants are scapegoats, bars, and yes, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of spread from it. But if you follow the proper protocol, which my restaurant has pretty much to a T, I mean, it could be grocery shopping. I went grocery shopping every day I needed to go. Like, I never did the Instacart thing. I was like, I'm 36 years old. I'm going to be good. I didn't wear a mask for the first month or so because, again, nobody knew. People that wore masks at that point in March and April looked like crazy people. They looked like conspiracy theorists. And now, obviously, things have changed a little bit. But who knows? I mean, I don't know. Could be walking down the street and passing a stranger and it have nothing to do with my other job. So I don't know.
Well, hold on, Rob. We have him. I mean, he's pretty close to us right now on this computer screen. Should we?
We got Billy the Kid, stage left. That's good.
I have a red one that I wore into Wells Fargo just for fun to see what kind of a response I could get. No one cares.
Of course you did, Mike Russell.
Yeah,
no. Of course you did.
Come on, man. So, okay, so now is it an antibody test or is it a full-blown COVID test? What are the differences between the two? Because when I heard that you had a second positive, I thought that had to be like an antibody test or something like that.
You would think. And very good question. I'm actually going to go get both done today. I got the antibody test done the second day after I started feeling like crap. And my nurse friend said it's going to be negative. Like, it takes a while for it to actually get in your bloodstream and build up the antibodies. But no, it's been all COVID tests. I am an aficionado of Q-tips, like rubbing my cerebellum. Like,
exactly. The frontal lobe of your brain gets tickled by these things. Yeah. I mean, how long does that last, and is it just absolutely unbearable?
So it's 10 seconds, and it's not like, so the last time I went, it didn't even affect me that much. It's like getting a lot of water up your nose when you're swimming in a pool.
Oh,
it's weird. It doesn't hurt one iota unless you have a mean nurse or something, but it doesn't hurt at all. But even the last time I went, they did both nostrils. She's like, so she does the first nostril. The first time, it was the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. 'Cause I already felt like crap. I'd waited 7 hours to go get a test. This last time, I felt fine. We were joking around, and the nurse was like, "All right." So she did the first one. I'm like, "Woo, done." She goes, "No, we're doing the other one." I'm like, "No, you're not. Like, that's not how this works." Like, I was prepped for one. Okay.
Yeah.
So she did both, and it goes in, little rummage, and it's out, and it's done. Like, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. It feels weird, but at this point, if you're scared about that, it's like going up the roller coaster before the big dip. It's all the anticipation that's really the one that gets to you. It's not a big deal at all. Like, I'm going to 3. I'm not nervous anymore. I'm just like, put that bastard in my nose. Let's move on.
Get it in.
He grabs it. I got this. I got this thing.
So that's because you got a very good look at obviously the medical system and how it works. Did they give you anything while you were in between positive tests? So before the test came back, you go in, you get your test result. Did they say, "We think you have it. Here, take this"? Or was it, "Hey, hang out, have a good time, and your body will recover in a week or two"?
Neither. Like, so it was it was a pretty rudimentary process. You could tell that people were starting to get in panic mode. Like, we need to test so many people. And again, this was June 4th. This was 20 days ago. Yeah. And all of this stuff that's happened since. I mean, the spike didn't even happen. The issues I was having was during the second test when it had officially spiked in Arizona. They said because I had the symptoms already, I wasn't asymptomatic when I got tested. It was just, "Are you feeling this?" I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "Well, we're going to give you the test, and we'll call you in 7 to 10 days. Like, it wasn't this, because it's a virus, obviously, that's where I was hoping it was strep. So I could take Z-Pack, bacterial stuff, and just get it done. I know that it'll be done in a week. So the unknown of all of it was scary. It was just the constant hoping that my breathing isn't going to stop, which is what we don't think about on a day-to-day basis. You don't think about having your heart failing. You don't think about just not being able to breathe anymore. And I live alone, and I don't have.
Wait till you get into your 40s like me, dude. Wait till you get into your 40s. Then pretty much you start to think.
That's pretty old. I think I got some time. But yeah, it was a trip. But no, Rob, they didn't give any sort of, "Here, take this nugget home with you to make this better." It's just, don't be around other people and sleep. But really, sleep. it doesn't help. I mean, you got to get the virus through your system, and then when it's through your system, it's through your system.
They didn't give you the hydroxychloroquine?
They did. Very nice. That's getting a lot better.
I'm trying.
First Nation's getting fantastic. Yeah, Frank Caliendo might have a run for his money there. But, no, I just drank a lot of Pedialyte. Like that's been my wheelhouse. Like it's a joke. Like people obviously that get hammered that drink Pedialyte. I now enjoy drinking Pedialyte because I knew what it would do for my body, and I knew that. I mean, people drink those green drinks, those things you put in a blender to make your body. Rob does, I'm sure.
Rob
makes
it grow. About grass. Yeah.
No, but Pedialyte saved me. Like that stuff, just drink as many fluids as you can and sit your keister on the couch or in bed and enjoy Netflix as being your date for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, okay, so let's get to that, by the way. And George, this is Alex Clancy, COVID positive. It was so nice he did it twice. And hopefully his test today coming back negative.
We want to know if you counted twice in the overall Arizona count, though. That's right. Know. Are you?
It was thrice. It was 3 times.
3 times.
It was 3 times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, probably an option.
What'd you say?
Pump those numbers up, baby. No.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I want to ask you, though, before we go to the Netflix question and what you watched on Netflix, I want to know the mental part. I want to dig more into that because you mentioned you live alone. So you're hanging out alone for 2 weeks, trying your best not to see anybody with the exception of on FaceTime or whatever. And you're having trouble sleeping. You're worried about things. How often were you thinking about the breathing component of COVID-19, particularly with no one else there to kind of like, it's okay, Alex, I'll take care of you. You know, that's tough to take care of yourself when you're sick in and of itself. You don't want to get anybody sick. So you don't want anybody to come over and help. So walk me through that, where your head was. Because you're a positive guy. You know, you're fun to be around.
Yeah, it was, first of all, I'm very happy I don't have a roommate because that would have added a completely other component, or a wife, girlfriend, whatever. I mean, say you don't know anybody, you just moved here, which is 90% of Arizona, it seems like, and you contract it, and you have nowhere else to go. If you're the roommate and you want to stay, like, you go stay in a hotel for a month, I'm not sure that's exactly cost effective. So I'm lucky that I do live alone for that aspect of it. The mental aspect was, luckily I was sick enough in the first week to where I didn't think about the breathing, but it was any moment where it was like a calm moment where I'm in between TV shows or whatever. It was rampant. And I tell people, like, a bunch of people have reached out to me. What was it like? How'd you feel? It's just, if you get it, the anxiety will be there, and just suck it up. Like, it's so hard. Like, that mental aspect of it. You live alone, you live with your family, whatever. There's going to be an anxiety foundation somewhere, whether it be you don't want to inflict this on your parents, you don't want anybody you know to contract it, you don't want to go to the hospital, whatever it is. There's so many different tentacles to that where the anxiety is going to be there, and just be ready for it and deal with it as you wish. If you try to sleep more, if you want to take sleep, I don't like taking NyQuil or what. I just don't like taking it. But if that's what gets you through it, so you don't have to think about it, cool. But it's palpable, and it's there the majority of the time until you pass that window. I mean, even after, it's like, don't read anything on the internet. That's one thing. You know enough now. Do not. If you're a Twitter person like me, like all three of us are, it's hard to stay away from sometimes, but do not Google what will I die? When do I go to the hospital? Don't do it.
Yeah, WebMD told you that you have COVID and cancer and I believe malaria.
Heart disease.
Yeah. The trifecta. Yeah. Just don't do it, because that will instill so many more issues for you. And I'm not. People ask me all the time, and I continue to tell them, the anxiety is the one that's going to get you, that you're not used to. You're just not used to feeling because of the unknown. Just do everything you can do, and the majority of the time you're going to be fine. Which, my favorite line to say is that percentages don't matter when it's you. Percentages, it doesn't matter. If it's 99.9%, that's not 100, so it could be me. And that's something that you just got to, it's a hurdle you got to get over. And it's a tough one, but you just got to do the mental aerobics to be able to do it.
Interesting. All right, let's get away from mental aerobics because it says the word aerobics in it. Let's go with the one thing you will not admit to anyone else outside of this, which everyone's going to see it. So I'm going to put you on the spot. That you were guilt watching during the COVID-19 lockdown. What would you not want to admit that you watched but loved?
Bad Boys for Life.
That is not. Shut up.
The
You
third
were
Bad
watching.
Boys?
Come
What?
on. You know you're watching like RuPaul's Drag Race or something like that.
I am
You've been
not.
watching
Probably
all-
that
one released a
not
long
bad.
time ago. No,
What's that?
It was the amount of television that I watched, I think, was the embarrassing part. It wasn't the actual because I probably went through since June 1st. I probably watched 10 shows.
I'm sure.
Like I've probably watched this is no joke when I tell you about the hours that I sleep. If you're up at midnight, there's nothing going on Twitter. Like my phone, you can't look at your weekly phone usage on your iPhone because it's 24 hours a day. It's like if I'm not sleeping, I want so that's the embarrassing part is I didn't read one book during the whole time because I felt like crap. And then afterwards it's like, nope. And this is on the heels of being quarantined, before that for 6 weeks or whatever. So it's been this onslaught of craziness. But yeah, I've watched everything. I've watched so many shows, Rob and Mike, that's the embarrassing part. I haven't watched an embarrassing show. It's the volume, of TV that I've watched. That's the embarrassing.
Let's try this. This is great.
So when you get your negative test, we're going to do the positive relating here. We're going to will this to happen. Your negative test you're going to get today. You're getting the hell out of there. Where the hell are you going to go?
How much to hear?
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that's very up in the air is how long do the antibodies last for? When I talked to my nurse practitioner, she said kind of flippantly, but she wouldn't joke about it. She goes, "You're probably good for about a year." But we don't know. There's some studies that say 2 months. It's pick your flavor with whatever studies you want to read that'll validate your point. But I don't know what am I going to do? Go to Aruba? If you want to leave the country, cool. If you want to fly and leave the country, I get it. Because who knows what's going to happen now? But I can't do anything. I'd love to go see my family, who's in California, but no shot.
Well, it's a risk too, right? Yeah. There's at least a little bit of risk there, and it's your family, the people you love the most.
Yeah.
No, I'd go see some members of my family
and rub their faces like this.
Yeah. So, but I tell you, I recovered from a surgery where I had 3 weeks. I was on lockdown in the house, couldn't leave, and I wanted to chew through those walls. I was calling Rob, texting Rob, going for the countdown.
He did after 2 days. 2
Yeah,
days, and he didn't have a minor surgery. It was a head surgery.
I was dying.
Yeah, it wasn't
I wanted to get out of there. So that's why you're like, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay right here, you damn wallflower.
Well, but let's talk about. I want to ask you about sports. So Alex Clancy is the producer of Jody Ayler's show, The Drive, on Fox Sports 910, and he also fills in when Jody's on vacation. So you guys haven't had sports really, as far as gameplay, to talk about since the NBA sort of postponed their season, which was almost 4 months ago now.
Yeah, March 12th.
Now that he remembers the date. So that's what I mean. That's sports guy. So now that you've gone through this, now that the sports leagues are kind of considering a plan to go forward, if you were the commissioner of any of the leagues, what would you do? NBA, MLB, NFL, you don't want people to get this. So do you put the games on? Do you do no fans? Do you just say, forget it, let's cancel it for a year?
I don't know, man. I've gone so back and forth. It was so the NBA's idea, let's take the bubble in Orlando. I'm like, cool. 300 players, they'll be able to do that. You'll have your maid service, your chefs, your DJs, your NBA 2Ks, whatever they're going to put. Cool. You're all going to stay there. If you all get it, okay, but it's only 300 people. You look at the NBA or the NFL, which is, I think, 1,600 players. And that's only if you do 32 times 53, whatever. I'm doing only active rosters.
Right.
And that's not counting coaches, trainers, anything. It's 1,600 people, ballpark. So you want to do a bubble with that. Tell me how. Explain to me. The NFL has been so lucky with, loosely defined. It's all spectrum-based here. But the NFL has been so lucky with the timing because they finished their season a month before this happened. So they could be the smartest people in the room saying, oh, no, it'll be fine. We have everything in place for September, which is several months away. I don't think there's going to be sports. This is a very new thought for me. I don't know if baseball is going to happen. It's cool. Oh, report. The dates in the future are always the greatest because there's no anything in the future is based on hope and not based on fact. And the fact that they're reporting in a week with everything that's happening, I don't see it. I don't see it.
So let me stick to that. Let me go to baseball because you know what a big baseball fan I am. So if baseball doesn't return this year, does baseball return? How long will baseball take to get back from this hit? Because baseball could have been, we're coming back on 4th of July. This could have been this big boom for the MLB, just showing something. If they come back, if they don't come back, how big a risk of that is it for the sport?
I don't know. I mean, the owners will always be wealthy, and these players, most of them will be rich. And unfortunately, the minor leagues may shut down for a couple of years for funding. I mean, I don't know. That's something that unfortunately is not in the forefront of the conversation. I think they'll be fine, just like every professional sport. It's just the issue that baseball has had during these labor disputes and how many games and how much money is COVID was kind of put on the back burner. Human safety was kind of put on the back burner, and it was more power and stubbornness and money, which gives the worst look during a pandemic like this. So they seem to have turned the corner. I'm not going to believe it until I hear play ball. Like, I don't see how it's responsible when all of these people are testing positive. And listen, if this wave of people test positive and everybody comes back in 2 weeks and they're fine, cool, I'm wrong. But I just don't see it. It's not as much of a controlled environment as what the NBA has put in place. And even the NBA, there's so many question marks. We don't know. So to answer your question, Rob, listen, for business, this is the worst thing that comes out of my mouth. Because if there's no football, that's Armageddon.
Yep.
Like, this is all big business. We're not seeing the entertainment value. We're seeing the big business boardrooms at the 100th floor of a skyrise in New York City. We're just seeing businessmen talking to each other. And if they can't figure it out to circumvent COVID, which may be impossible, we may not see it.
What if we only let COVID positive people that have already had COVID go watch games? So it says
yes.
Only people that have it. So Alex Clancy
can
go to the games, and only people that have had it. Because, theoretically, at least based on what we know now, you probably have some protection from getting it. Although there are some people who don't really know. They didn't get it twice. I don't know. But if that was the option, so, okay, we're not going to have any fans unless you can prove that you had a positive COVID test. Get it done.
Show me your papers.
What a nice little party favor for almost dying. That's great.
Nice.
Get to as many games as you want. It's not a bad idea, especially if there's going to be millions of people that test positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's already, 2 million people in the country that have.
That could save sport right there.
Mm-hmm.
Fauci's going to get his request. He's going to finally have papers for everybody. You're going to have antibody papers.
What a weird time like that. If you told me that 5 years ago, I'd put you in a padded room. But now it's like, actually doesn't make that. Hey. It actually makes a little bit of sense.
When you threaten to take people's football away, guess what happens? People start to think, okay, hey, I don't care what freedom you take from me. I don't care what kind of civil liberty you take from me. Give me my football.
Yeah. Well, and the most alarming thing that's been said about it the whole time, it's just a complete oversight of what's going on, is Fauci's like, oh, baseball has to end by October. When does football happen? Like, I know that people have talked about that, but it's like, that's something that just needs to be discussed more. It's like, you're not waiting a year to play football. That's going to be the exact time when football starts to ramp up. And so let me ask both of you, if you were a commissioner in a league, which is worse, starting and having to stop or not starting? Like, which is the worst?
Starting and having to stop would be worse.
The worst optics is going.
Like, nope, sorry, we're going to not play the rest of the season. Because the NBA feels weird. It feels like if they pick up, they're going to do this playoff thing and not all the teams are in it. And it's not even going to feel like a real championship. Mike's even said that even if LeBron gets his 4th ring, there's going to be an asterisk next to it. It'll be like
it's true.
I agree. Even if there was a full season, Mike would have said it would have been an asterisk. Nice COVID scapegoat there, bud.
Hey, it worked for me. If it works for my narrative, it's fine. I'm good with that. Totally okay with that.
Oh, I know that.
All right, man. Bottom line is, before we review this beer, what is your message to people that have tested positive? The people that even test positive, like my family, all 3 of them, I've just had mild symptoms, maybe a runny nose. One had a fever. Loss of taste was the one that went to all 3. Yeah. What do you tell all people across the spectrum?
Just be smart. And listen, the thing with the mask, we joke about it a lot. This isn't a political, because I don't step into that. I let you guys take care of that. It's not for you, it's for other people. And I don't know why that's something that's not difficult, that's so difficult to grasp. When it comes to COVID, myself personally, if you contract it, be smart, stay home, and get tested again if you can, to test negative before you jump back into the waters. Because that is where it gets scary, where you're really asymptomatic, and we don't know how contagious people that are positive still after the symptoms are gone, but you don't want to convolute and just make things exponentially worse. Just try and do the best you can. And the anxiety will be there. Just deep breaths. And if you have any questions, reach out to me at Clancy's Corner on Instagram and Twitter. I'm not doing that as a shameless plug. I'm telling people my DMs
good.
are
I was about to do it. You beat me to it.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, if people want, if people have reached out, people that I work with, I'm happy to talk to anybody. So that's where I'm at.
Well, I have my I have my medicine right here. So
Attaboy.
Rob start with this. The Elysian Contact Haze IPA. Let's get a score on this one quick there, buddy. What do you got on that? For a big old poll.
I'll drink this all day any day. I'm just going to give it a nice even 8.5. That's not even, but it's good enough. I was going to say 8, but I upped it 8.5.
I think when it says hazy, it needs to be a little sweeter. Not really the sweetest for me as far as hazy. You know how I deal with false advertising, so it's still good. I'm still going to go with a 7 on this one now. So I'm going to let Rob do the
average. I'm not going to do the math, but whatever. 7.75.
8.5. Yeah, there we go.
Exactly. It's all good.
That was it.
Alex, we're glad that you're better. We're glad you're feeling great. We're glad that you were able to push through the anxiety and able to tell the story too. So if others go through it, they have a resource and a reference to say, oh, okay, this is what Alex went through too. Mm-hmm. So I'm imagining that's going to help some people as well. So thank you for that.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me on.
Man. Good luck on that test today, buddy. We'll knock it out. Finally get a negative, will you?
I want 2 nostrils. Bring it.
Slacker.